Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Halftime on the Hudson. Alongside Andrea Fresley, I'm Billy Floyd. This week we'll be discussing the 2018 Winter Olympics, the 2018 NHL trade deadline, and our games of the week. But let's first start with our hot takes. He leads the entire country in scoring and assists. He makes three-point jump shots look like three-point layups. And he should without a doubt be selected the first overall pick in the 2018 NBA draft. Oklahoma's freshman point guard Trae Young has put on a masterful show this season, and his numbers don't lie. Despite being undersized at 6'2" and 180 pounds soaking wet, Young is averaging 29 points per game and 9.2 assists per game. And out of the 26 games this season, Young has only failed to score at least 20 points 4 times. He's also just the fourth high major freshman guard in 7 years to record a usage rate higher than 30%. Two of those players, D'Angelo Russell and Markelle Fultz, were top 2 draft picks. Passing up on this kid would be like passing up on Steph Curry coming out of college. Like Curry, he has the ability to knock down shots from NBA three-point range off a variety of dribble moves. He has a quick, compact release with minimal wasted motion that allows him to get off a shot even in the tightest of spaces. And sure, they say smaller players who have undersized, don't have the ability, have no NBA strength yet, have to spend multiple years in college so they can develop. But in this case, that makes no sense. He's already more skilled than anyone in this draft, and he's not going to get any taller or bigger by staying in college. With the proper NBA training routines and constantly playing against grown man competition day in and day out, Young will progress better than ever if he leaves after this year. He may not be your all-star point guard in his rookie or maybe even sophomore season, but teams that draft someone over him are going to be kicking themselves big time when they eventually get 30-pieced by Steph Curry 2.0.
Scandals have been rocking Russia during the Olympics. From the country being banned to athletes being exposed, the Olympics had plenty of twists and turns thus far. As we all know, Russia has been in the spotlight recently with the instances of doping that were helping them cheat during the last 2 Olympics Games. As punishment, only 169 Russian athletes will be competing under the Olympic banner, not the Russian flag. In total, the country has had 41 Olympic medals stripped for doping violations. But after the recent incidents, it leaves us to wonder, should even individual Russian athletes be allowed to compete? A new scandal recently emerged as Alexander Krushenelny, who was an Olympic curler, left the Pyeongchang Winter Games on Sunday. The reason? He tested positive for a banned substance meldonium, a heart drug that was banned by the World Anti-Doping Agency in 2016 because it boosts endurance. In addition, he won a bronze medal last week with his wife and teammate Anastasia Belgazio in mixed doubles curling. I personally think overall that Russian athletes should be allowed to compete because not all participants can be held accountable for others' actions. But if this trend continues primarily with Russian athletes, we have to ask, is this something secretly being encouraged?
This year will finally mark the end of the Warriors-Cavs saga. And no, I'm not a total nutcase. I'm not betting against LeBron James in the East. It's basically a guarantee that he will be playing in his 8th straight NBA Finals. As crazy as it might be for a human to say, I believe that the Houston Rockets will be representing the Western Conference in this year's NBA Finals. And I know it's easy to come right out and say that Chris Paul and James Harden are world famous for choking in the postseason. But we've never seen them in the playoffs together, and we certainly have never seen a Rockets team this dominant. Their killer first half earned them a 44-13 record, which is the best record in the NBA. And while everyone has KD as the second best player in the NBA behind the King, people sleep on the fact that Harden could even be better based on his overall game. His 31.3 points per game lead the NBA, and his 9 assists per game put him second behind Russell Westbrook. This man has Chris Paul on his team and averages more assists than him. Obviously, Golden State has the most dominant 4-man core in the entire league, but their depth doesn't run as deep as Houston's, with shooters all over the place, including Eric Gordon, Gerald Green, Ryan Anderson, you name it. Paul and Harden have it absolutely set, always having the perfect guy to kick it out to. And let's talk about Clint Capella down low. He's drastically more dominant and a way better defender and more efficient than both Zaza Pachulia and Jordan Bell of the Warriors. And lastly, winning on the road in the NBA is one of the biggest challenges in the NBA. If the Rockets can stay hot in the second half and lock up that #1 seed, that's 4 out of 7 games in Houston if the two teams are to eventually meet up in the Western Conference Finals. And let's also not forget that this year, Houston is 2-1 against Golden State.
What's the deal with Marist men's basketball? The team that has gone 6-22 this season is clearly not moving in the right direction. Head coach Mike Maker has not been able to turn this program into a winning contender. People are speculating, why does this team continue to perform poorly? Who is to blame? As far as the stats are concerned, Marist struggles defensively. This team struggles in stopping opposing teams from scoring, as told by their average of giving up 81 points per game. They are ranked 10th in the MAC in assists and 8th in rebounding. I believe that because our school concentrates so heavily on academics, fewer players reach these expectations, and thus less talented players are recruited. Additionally, you could see that some of these players just aren't motivated or give it their all on the court. Will Marist ever be a strong basketball team? Unless the coaching staff heavily recruits, develops better talent, or makes internal changes, the team will continue to perform poorly and to stay at the bottom of the MAC standings. When we return, Brett Butler, Alex Rodriguez, and Dilly Dunwoody will be discussing the upcoming NHL trade deadline.
Welcome back. I'm Brett Butler alongside Alex Rodriguez and Dylan Dunwoody. The 2018 NHL trade deadline will conclude on Monday, February 26th. With just a couple days remaining, there are still plenty of moves that are yet to be made. Let's start with the forwards that need to be dealt.
So Nikita Shnostakov is a right winger. He's a depth player traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs to the St. Louis Blues. He's played 3 games so far this year in the National Hockey League, but most of the time in his career he's been playing down the AHL. He scored 17 goals down there with 19 points, and then this year in the American Hockey League, he scored 5 goals and 12 points in 14 games.
So he's going to be a depth player. He'll come up and he'll help, hopefully, the St. Louis Blues for extended playoff run here.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll be a good inclusion for the team too.
All right, and Dylan, what about you?
So the forward I wanted to talk about was Toby Reeder, because I feel like this pickup for the Kings is exactly what they needed for their bottom 6. Because with their forward core of Kopitar, Toffoli, Iafallo in the top 6, they really needed some depth scoring. So in 58 games played this year, he's had 8 goals, 11 assists for 19 points. He was a minus 11, but it's good to note that he was on the Arizona Coyotes, the worst team in the NHL. So he's likely to play on the third line with Kempe, so to make that line very fast. And in his entire career, he's put up 111 points in 292 games, and he'll be a depth scorer to break up that top 6 forwards.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he plays in a team that is actually going to be a contender here,
exactly.
and actually has potential to go somewhere. It may even spark him even more.
Right.
But on to defense, Alex. What do you have for defense?
I got Zach Leslie. He was traded from the LA Kings to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Former 6th-round pick by LA. He'll definitely be interesting to watch, especially to see how he does with Vegas. And I really want to see how he'll impact the Vegas locker room, especially because of how well the Golden Knights have done this season and the run they've done. They're, in my opinion, they're one of the best, probably the best franchise team in all of sports for their inaugural season. And honestly, I hope he does well with Vegas, because I have a feeling that the Golden Knights are going to go far into the playoffs, possibly even to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think it was a really good move by them. I think their team is doing quite a bit better than they even expected it to be, and the fact that they didn't want to add somebody too high or too low, he kind of just fits right in. And I feel like he's a depth player and he'll help out right away. Mm-hmm. What about you?
So my defenseman I wanted to focus on was Dion Phaneuf. Now Dion Phaneuf was on the Senators for the majority of this year, and he played a top pairing role, but I feel like he's more suited toward the second pairing because of his skill set. In 57 games played, he's had 6 goals, 13 assists, and 19 points. He was a -7, but again, we have to keep in mind that he was on the Senators, one of the bottom teams in the league. So he's going to be playing on the second pairing with Alec Martinez, and that's going to boost that top 4 with Doughty, Martinez, and now Phaneuf. He's had goals in the first 2 games he's played with the team already, and I think that's going to make that top 4 extremely potent, and it's going to help that very offensive team to bolster their defense and put them into a spot to potentially compete for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and what about the goalies? What's happened with the goalies this year?
So I picked out Peter Mrazek. He was traded from the Detroit Red Wings to the Philadelphia Flyers. He's a 26-year-old, so he's still relatively young. And his last 5 games, he's been averaging a league average for save percentages of 940 for his save percentage. So yeah, not too bad. He's pretty good for the most part. The Flyers are currently sitting in 3rd in the Metropolitan Division. They're really fighting for that playoff spot. They missed it last year. Hopefully they're trying to bounce back and get in this year. Right now they have Brian Elliott as their main goalie. Assuming that they make it to the playoffs, they're going to keep him as starting goal. But if anything happens to him, I mean, you know, they have this great backup goalie. And so, I mean, we've seen Philly with backups before. Like we saw the Eagles with the Super Bowl, Nick Foles. Philly's good with that stuff. So hopefully Mrazek will be a good impact for the Flyers.
Yeah, I think it was a really good move by the Flyers just to reassure their back end and show their players that they're really serious about trying to make it all the way this year. And the fact that you said the last 5 games or so, Mrazek has a 940 save percentage. It definitely helps his value here at the trade deadline, and I think it's definitely going to help them coming up in these last 20 games of the season.
Definitely.
What about you, Dylan?
So a goalie I wanted to talk about who was traded to, it was in the same trade that Toby Reeder was traded to the Kings, was Darcy Kemper. Now Darcy Kemper was a young goalie who was picked up last season as Quick was injured in order to kind of fill that hole that he left in their lineup. And I think now that he's on Arizona and he can fill his role as a backup goalie rather than the starter, he'll be able to flourish in that situation and start to put up some great numbers.
Yeah, definitely. And on to the best part of this segment, our predictions. Who do you guys think are going to be some picks that teams are going to grab for this playoff run?
Well, Michael Grabner has been a hot name out there. A right winger for the Rangers, very fast on the ice too, and he's good on the penalty kill. Any team would want him, especially if they're fighting for a playoff spot. He's got 25 goals this season with 6 assists. That's one of the most in the league. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of good deals made, like proposals made for him.
He's a pretty affordable player too.
Exactly, yeah.
So we got that. Okay, how about you?
So I think another player from the Rangers that is going to generate a lot of talk around the league is Ryan McDonagh. Now, he's not going to be quite as much as a rental as some of the other players that we're going to list, but I think that he is going to be able to fill a role in a team that really needs it at the time. Now, the 2 teams that I pointed out that were in most need of a defenseman were the Leafs and the Lightning. So if they were to get Ryan McDonagh, he has 2 goals and 24 assists for 26 points, and he's a +7. Now, he's a young 2-way defenseman. He's played 516 games. He's been the captain of the Rangers for many years. And I think maybe he's going to pull a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a prospect, and maybe even more than that. He can lead a top pair on a team, and he can play any role. He can play the penalty kill, the power play, or even 5-on-5.
Yeah, he's definitely going to put a team over the top, and that's part of what's making him, such a high value here.
Right.
He's not going to go to any team other than one that is super serious about winning the Stanley Cup. Mm-hmm. The thing that makes me kind of worry here is if he goes to Tampa Bay or Steve Yzerman of the GM of Tampa Bay came out just like a day ago and had said he doesn't plan to change his roster at all. So there's definitely going to be some talk there. I believe that Boston, as you said, was another good location for him. I believe that McDonagh will definitely help, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see whatever team McDonagh decides to go to or gets dealt to. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make it all the way to the Stanley Cup final and potentially win that cup.
Right.
I also had picked out a player of my own. And I chose Derek Brassard of the Ottawa Senators as well. Now, he is, kind of getting to the later end of his prime. He's an ideal third or fourth line center. He has a ton of playoff experience, and he always rises to the occasion for the playoffs. So whatever team, is looking for, kind of depth and their, their bottom 12 or, the bottom part of their roster, he definitely will help them out there. But I guess, that's it. Do you guys have any other last remarks here about who you think may be traded this deadline?
Well, I also was looking at Rick Nash, the other right winger of the Rangers. All around, he's just a great player. So far this season, he's got 18 goals, 10 assists. He's a power forward, and he's really good with the puck. Solid first-line winger, and he's really good for any team who's just like Grabner's situation.
Yep.
He's good for any team that's like trying to make the run. Mm-hmm. So just like Grabner, Nash could go anywhere too.
Yeah, so I think I can speak for all of us that there are still plenty of deals to be made, but when we come back, Billy and Andrea will be recapping the 2018 Winter Olympics thus far.
The U.S. has seen plenty of ups and downs thus far in the 2018 Winter Olympics in South Korea. However, the games have not been as entertaining as ever. One point of notice is the medal count for the United States. Billy, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, yeah, we stand fourth right now in the medal count. I mean, we got 21 medals total. Norway is leading the way with 35. That's expected, though. And then you got Germany 25, and then Canada 24. I think one medal that we missed out on was definitely hockey. I mean, in the springtime in April, they said that they would stop having NHL players play in the Olympics, which was kind of upsetting because last Olympics they had TJ Oshie and all that, like all the guys playing that thrilling shootout. It was fun. And then they lost that shootout to Czech Republic that last game. They didn't even qualify for a medal. If you watched, there was one goal in the entire shootout.
No, it's
and that was a big disappointment.
I know.
But you know who didn't let us down?
Wait, who didn't?
Those women.
Oh,
how about that game last night?
Crazy. No,
Lamoureux with that game-winning goal.
Beating Canada. It was incredible.
And the cool thing is they've played each other in the gold medal Olympic game the past 5 years. They won, we did, in 1998. And then Canada went on to win the next 3. So this was kind of a big redemption.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose 3 straight times.
Exactly.
It's like, all right, it's time to get ours. That's what Lamoureux was thinking when she was going for that goal.
Exactly.
And in that moment, it was kind of like a recreation of like the Miracle on Ice.
No.
I mean, it's pretty hard to compare such like a historic moment.
Of course.
This was a pretty good win for the United States. And the United States has also done pretty decent, I think, on the slopes. I mean, Shaun White. What do you think about Shaun White? How do you think he's done?
I'm not a huge Shaun White fan.
Why not?
I don't know. After the whole sexual harassment case, and since NBC has been covering it, which I'm thankful for, but that's only because of movements such as Time's Up that have brought these type of things to attention. I'm a fan of Chloe Kim, though, the snowboarder. She won gold.
17 years old.
17 years.
She's the youngest snowboarder women to win a gold medal.
Exactly.
Which is kind of crazy.
And her tweets,
she was tweeting about like eating churros and stuff, and like
she was hangry.
Invited churro. I put on 5 pounds, not be ready to go on spring break.
Well, I know she almost overslept. I know that was one of her tweets. She almost missed her Olympic practice because she was
a trainer that keeps them on top.
Oh, well, she was tweeting. She was saying it. She was trying to be relatable. She was.
That's all that really matters. And what do you think about Lindsey Vonn? Like, I feel terrible for her.
Yes.
She was a stud back in 2010 when she gold medaled in the downhill and everything, and then had that gruesome knee injury where she basically tore everything apart in the 2013, I think it was the World Championship Games. But now she's back in the Super G. She didn't qualify for a medal. She came in 6th, but she still has the downhill and the group alpine, which I think is going to be fun for her. I mean, she's an American icon no matter what. She's going to get the advertisement. She's going to be America's sweetheart on the slopes. But it's going to be fun to watch the end of these games. And I'm really glad that the women's hockey team
I'm really glad
ended up coming up clutch.
I'm glad for the woman representation since I feel like it's a lot about the males. So I think it's a great. It's
kind of like the women's soccer team.
Exactly.
Because as males, they can't even qualify for the World Cup.
No, it's true.
It's pathetic. Here I am, really excited to watch the World Cup, and then I forgot. Oh wait, they didn't even qualify. Like we're the United States of America, we didn't even qualify. Now we just have the women who go out there and they place gold every year because they're loaded. Now we got the women's hockey team repeating.
It's the time for the girls. Exactly. It's exactly what we have to say.
And the good thing is, with the Olympics and everything, we still got more games coming up.
I know.
So like this week, like what are you looking forward to watching the most?
I don't know. I just want to see the competition. I'm so interested in just seeing just represent the different countries. And since the U.S. has been performing a little bit more poorly this season, I really just look forward to seeing the talent level.
I know also what you're looking forward to.
What am I looking forward to?
The New York Yankees. They're playing that spring training game on Friday. Why don't you tell us about the Yankees, baby?
Yeah, of course. All right, so baseball is back. I don't know about you, Billy, but I'm very eager to see the Yankees' first preseason game on Friday down in Tampa against the Detroit Tigers. The Yankees are receiving great attention for their off-season acquisition of last year's National League MVP, Giancarlo Stanton. Fans are excited to see this lineup full of power hitters, including young stars such as Aaron Judge, Gary Sanchez, and Greg Bird. However, with winning comes high expectations for the World Series or bust New York Yankees teams.
Well, the game that I'm looking forward to and that you should be on your couch for this weekend will be this Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time as the new-look Cleveland Cavaliers travel to San Antonio to face the Spurs. Since the Cavs have made their deadline moves, they've gone 2-0 after beating the Celtics and the Thunder, both for which were on the road. And despite losing Kawhi Leonard for the entire season, the Spurs have played surprisingly well, as they currently own the 3 seed in the West with a 35-44 record. You can bet Coach Pop will be looking forward to seeing what Le GM has done with his Cleveland squad.
That's all we have this week on Halftime on the Hudson. He's Billy Floyd, I'm Andrea Fresley, and we'll see you next time.